Hi, I'm Kevin, and welcome to AITHERIA Podcast. In this episode, we'll uncover how AI can enhance your intelligence, helping you learn faster, remember more, and think better. Let's get started.
If you listen to the news right now, it feels like there's this constant drumbeat about artificial intelligence,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Everywhere.
It's all automation, maybe job replacement, or, these huge companies are using it to just churn out mountains of content.
Yeah.
And it often feels kind of distant or maybe overwhelming, even a bit threatening if you're just trying to think for yourself.
And that narrative, I think, while it's definitely out there, it completely misses the immediate, the really revolutionary potential AI holds for you. The individual, the person who wants to learn, who wants to strategize.
Right.
So today, we're deliberately kind of pivoting away from that view of AI as just a tool for completion, automation, getting tasks done.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to focus really laser-like on AI as this dedicated, customized, cognitive partner, something designed to actually make you fundamentally smarter.
Okay, so our mission in this deep dive, it's kind of a shortcut, right? We've looked at the sources, distilled it down.
Yeah, cut through the noise.
We want to bypass all the technical jargon and give you a really high-leverage blueprint, a way to use these tools to genuinely upgrade your own cognitive capacities. We're talking about accelerated learning, a massive boost in creativity, and the ability to consistently make decisions that are actually stress-tested.
And to really unlock this, I think the core shift in perspective is, well, it's mandatory. You have to stop seeing AI as just a subordinate assistant that executes a task.
Summarize this email for me.
Exactly that. Instead, the research really guides us toward a completely different way of thinking about it. AI as a true cognitive partner, it functions almost like a personal brain extension.
Okay, brain extension.
Okay.
That's a really compelling concept. But I have to sort of push back a bit right away.
Please do.
If the AI is doing all this heavy lifting, this processing, isn't there a real risk that we just become, intellectually lazy?
Mm-hmm.
If I start relying on this extension, what happens to my own brain, my actual biological capacity?
That is the exact tension we need to explore. And yeah, the sources we looked at, they tackle this head on.
Good.
The key really is in how you define partnership. It's not about offloading thinking. Think about it this way. If the AI handles the intense, repetitive stuff, the data processing, finding the information, the preliminary analysis, the things that really drain your mental energy.
Right, the grunt work.
Exactly. It means your human brain can dedicate its entire energy to the higher level stuff. Synthesis, judgment, validation, true innovation. The goal isn't mental replacement at all. It's mental optimization.
Okay, so optimization, not replacement. The promise then is we innovate faster, we dedicate our limited cognitive bandwidth to the strategic, the really high-level thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And because our raw processing power is effectively boosted, augmented, we make consistently smarter decisions. Now, that's a pretty powerful mandate for this deep dive.
It really is. It changes the game.
Okay, so let's start with maybe the common trap, the one most of us fall into, right? When we first open up an AI tool, our immediate instinct, it's transactional. It's like, how can this write my memo faster?
Yeah.
Or how can this save me 5 minutes on research?
And that's totally natural because, well, the early AI functions, they were marketed that way.
True.
That prevalent view, it's limited, though. It focuses solely on automation, just getting routine tasks done, or maybe content creation, churning out text or generating images.
Yeah.
And while those things are efficient, sure, they basically treat AI like a really high-speed copying machine. It's just performing a routine function when you ask it to, this kind of approach. It rarely taps into that power of enhanced cognition we're talking about.
But the material we've been analyzing, it points to something much, much deeper. This idea of AI augmentation for enhanced cognition.
Right.
Augmentation, by definition, it means adding to, enhancing something.
Yeah.
So how do we actually distinguish augmentation from plain old automation in practice?
Right.
What's the difference on the ground?
Okay, the key difference, I think, is shifting your focus from the output to the input, or rather, the interaction.
Okay. With automation, the goal is AI completion. You just delegate a task entirely, right? Do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
With augmentation, the goal is enhancing your capability. The AI's role shifts from completing tasks for you to systematically elevating your own thinking, your own strategic capacity.
Okay.
Think of it like your mind is the CEO of a company. Automation is like hiring a data entry clerk. It does a specific, defined task.
Got it.
Augmentation is like hiring a chief data officer, someone who proactively structures analysis, flags opportunities you might miss, helps you think better about the data.
That reframing,
Yeah.
it makes the tools themselves seem way less, I don't know, proprietary and much more accessible. We aren't talking about some million-dollar enterprise software only huge companies can afford. We're talking about tools that are probably already sitting on our desktops, right?
That's absolutely critical, especially for the learner persona we're thinking about. This cognitive partnership model, it's accessible right now using everyday tools.
Yeah.
The research we reviewed, it specifically mentions familiar examples.
Like one. Well, take ChatGPT, obviously. It's great for depth Q&A, sure. But think about using it to generate structured critiques of your own arguments, to play devil's advocate.
Ah, interesting. So not just asking it for answers, but asking it to challenge my answers.
Precisely. Then there's Notion AI that integrates this kind of thinking augmentation directly into your note-taking, your project structuring. It can help you outline complex ideas before you've even fully formed them yourself. It helps structure your thoughts in real time.
Okay, I see that. And one of the most fascinating examples, I thought, that the sources highlighted for this cognitive partnership idea was Rewind AI.
Rewind.
Yeah, can you unpack that a bit more? How does that specific tool function as a memory extension? Because that sounds like the absolute truest form of cognitive augmentation, like literally extending your brain.
It really does feel like that. Rewind AI, it essentially records everything you see and hear on your computer screen. Everything.
Right.
It indexes your entire digital life, every meeting, every document you looked at, every web page you visited, and it makes it instantly searchable. Instantly. So if your own, fallible human memory is struggling to recall a specific detail from a Zoom call 3 weeks ago, Rewind is the retrieval system. Bang, there it is.
Okay.
It acts as this perfect capture mechanism, and the key is it liberates your brain from the burden of remembering where you saw something or when you heard it.
Right, the administrative task of memory.
Exactly. It frees you up to focus purely on what that information means and how you can use it strategically. It handles the where, you handle the what and why.
So, okay, let me get this straight. If I use Rewind to remember the exact phrasing someone used in that meeting, I free up that chunk of my brain that would otherwise be frantically searching through notes or folders.
Yep, mental energy saved.
Allowing me to focus instead on synthesizing that meeting's outcome into, say, a new strategy or a follow-up question. It's really about changing how we prompt these systems, isn't it?
That's it.
Asking them to augment our memory or our critical thinking, not just generate some block of text.
You've nailed it. It's about the quality and the intent of the interaction. Okay, let's dive into the mechanics then. The real nuts and bolts of how this brain extension actually works, especially for accelerating knowledge acquisition. Because for the learner, probably the single biggest hurdle is just the sheer volume. Modern information overload. It's crushing.
Tell me that. It feels like you spend 90% of your time just wading through articles, reports, endless data, just to find the 10% that's actually relevant.
Right.
Before you can even start the real work of thinking about it, of synthesis.
And that is precisely where AI offers immediate, tangible relief. It frees up huge amounts of your cognitive energy. So firstly, the obvious one. AI can summarize immense data sets instantly. But if you need to grasp the core concepts of, say, 20 dense academic papers for a project, an AI can potentially reduce that reading load down to maybe 5 key paragraphs. It lets you move directly to the higher level of analysis much faster.
But hang on. If I'm just getting the surface level, the summary, how is that really better than just reading the abstract? I worry about missing the nuance, the important details buried deeper.
That's a fair concern, and that's where the augmentation part differs from just a simple summary tool. Its function goes deeper than just truncating text.
How so?
Well, a good cognitive partner AI is programmed not just to shorten, but to provide key insights extracted from the sources. It can analyze the semantic structure, the arguments being made, and identify the statistically significant conclusions or the core underlying critical arguments, not just the topic sentences you might find in an abstract.
Okay, so it's looking for the argumentative core, not just the main topic.
Exactly. And this leads directly into the next really powerful mechanic, highlighting trends that might be completely obscured in dense text, things a human reader might easily miss.
Okay, now that's interesting. How exactly does an AI perform that kind of sophisticated task? That sounds like more than just summarizing.
It is. This moves way beyond simple keyword matching. The AI often utilizes something called vector similarity searching.
Vector similarity.
So instead of just looking for the literal word economy across a bunch of documents, it looks for conceptual overlaps. It understands the relationships between ideas, even if they use different words.
Right.
So for example, imagine you're reading 5 really dense financial reports. A human might miss a very subtle emerging correlation between, say, interest rate hikes and changes in consumer spending habits in a really non-obvious sector, like artisanal coffee or something.
Okay, yeah, unlikely connection to spot easily.
Right. But the AI, because it's processing the data structurally, looking at those conceptual vectors, it can identify this conceptual proximity between interest rates up and fancy coffee down across all reports and flag that pattern as a potential emerging trend. It makes the invisible visible to the strategic human mind.
Wow. Okay, so that means we are genuinely no longer constrained by the limits of our own processing speed or, frankly, our memory capacity.
Pretty much.
When the AI handles the facts, the structure, the searching, the preliminary trend spotting, our mental bandwidth, our precious focus, is entirely freed up. It can be allocated purely to critical reasoning, strategic formulation, and that genuine synthesis of novel ideas.
You're liberated from the tyranny of just remembering stuff or sifting through mountains of data.
Freed from memorization. I like the sound of that. Okay, now that we've covered the data crunching, the information management side, here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. How does AI move beyond just retrieval and summarization and actually become an active partner in strategic and critical thinking?
Yes, this is the leap, isn't it, from data worker to, well, intellectual sparring partner.
Exactly.
The crucial capability here, according to the research, is simulation power, the ability to run complex what-if scenarios instantly to help refine your decisions.
Simulation. Okay.
You outline a strategic dilemma, you define the key variables, and you ask the AI to run probabilistic models based on those constraints.
I get the concept, but let's make it really concrete. Say I'm trying to decide on a new pricing strategy for a service I offer.
Okay.
What exactly am I feeding the AI? And how does it deliver a simulation? What does that output look like?
Good question. You're feeding it your constraints and your assumptions. For instance, you'd provide your current price point, your estimated cost of goods sold, the known competitor pricing range, maybe your target audience demographic, and crucially, your assumption regarding market elasticity. You might tell it, okay, I assume a 15% price increase will only lead to about a 5% drop in sales volume.
Right, my best guess based on experience.
Exactly. The AI then takes all that, often leveraging existing market data it has access to, and runs multiple simulations using probabilistic modeling. It might come back and say, in plain language, okay, simulation A, if market volatility increases by 10% next quarter, your predicted volume drop is actually closer to 12%, not 5%. Simulation B, if competitor Z holds their current price steady, your optimal price point might actually be 5% higher than you projected for maximizing profit. Okay, so it's not like a magic crystal ball giving one single definitive answer.
Not at all.
It's providing probabilistic outcomes based on, well, essentially multivariate analysis, but delivered in natural language. And that allows me to stress test my own internal assumptions against data-driven models.
Precisely. You're testing the boundaries of your assumptions, and furthermore, the AI is exceptional at suggesting alternative viewpoints you just haven't considered.
How so?
Well, we humans suffer badly from confirmation bias, right? We tend to seek out information that confirms what we already believe.
Guilty as charged.
We all are. The AI, though, it's not burdened by our personal history or our company's culture or organizational inertia. It can pull information and models from completely different orthogonal fields. It might, say, use principles from evolutionary biology to offer a fresh perspective on a supply chain logistics problem.
Wow, okay. That forces you, the human strategist, to engage with angles you might otherwise completely ignore.
It breaks your mental frames. So this functionality, it basically lets you run mental A/B tests or even A to Z tests almost instantaneously.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
But here's another friction point for me. If I use the AI to stress test my decision 20 times in an afternoon, won't I eventually lose my own business intuition, my gut feel? Doesn't that human element get diminished when I'm relying on this constant external validation loop?
That is the central challenge, absolutely. It's the core of the partner not crutch idea we need to keep coming back to. The sources suggest that your intuition doesn't disappear. It gets elevated, it gets sharper.
Elevated how?
Your intuition stops being based just on vague hunches and slow accumulated experience. Instead, it becomes based on highly informed pattern recognition trained by these instant stress-tested feedback loops. Think about it. If your gut instinct is directly contradicted by a simulation result, that contradiction becomes an incredibly valuable learning event. It forces you to articulate why you felt that way, to examine the underlying mechanism of your intuition and either validate it with new evidence or refine it based on the data. It refines your intuition, it doesn't replace it. It makes it data-informed intuition.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's about training the intuition, not outsourcing it.
Right.
Now, let's pivot that efficiency, that acceleration, directly towards learning and skill acquisition.
Right.
Because that's a core goal for the learner persona listening to this. How does AI augmentation speed up the process of really grasping and retaining new knowledge, new skills?
It essentially creates a personalized, adaptive learning environment tailored specifically to you. The AI can move way beyond standard flashcards or generic Q&A. It does this by generating practice problems that are specifically tailored for your current knowledge state and, crucially, your identified weaknesses.
Okay, so let's say I'm trying to master a really complex concept in, I don't know, statistics, and I keep stumbling over a specific type of hypothesis testing. How does the AI detect that specific weakness and then respond effectively?
Well, a sophisticated learning partner AI wouldn't just track right versus wrong answers. It tracks the type of error you're making. It might recognize, for example, that you fundamentally misunderstand the difference between a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis, rather than just messing up the calculation. It sees the root cause.
Okay.
It then isolates that specific conceptual failure and generates bespoke exercises just for that. It might create 5 different highly contextualized scenarios that force you to rearticulate the definitions in your own words, maybe followed by some novel practice problems that gradually increase in complexity, focusing just on that distinction.
That personalized feedback loop.
Yeah.
And that has to be the ultimate efficiency mechanism for learning.
It's incredibly powerful.
You effectively skip reviewing the stuff you already know well, and you focus your precious time and mental energy only on the specific knowledge gaps where you need the most growth.
Exactly. It accelerates the path to achieving true competence, true mastery, dramatically. You're always working at the edge of your understanding.
This acceleration, this power, it's incredibly compelling. But we absolutely have to return to that critical warning, that caveat we brought up earlier. AI must be used as a thinking partner, not a crutch. This distinction feels like the absolute dividing line between genuine cognitive augmentation and, well, mental atrophy.
Yeah.
It seems like the single most important philosophical point in all the source material.
I agree. And the danger is subtle. It's insidious. If you ask the AI for, say, a decision recommendation or the summary of options, and you simply read the first output it gives you and accept it uncritically, just take it as fact, then you are using the AI as a crutch. You're outsourcing the vital process of evaluation and validation. You are actively training your brain to become passive in the process.
And presumably, if the AI happens to have an information gap, or it produces a biased result, or just a flat-out incorrect one, which we know happens.
It absolutely happens. All the time.
The crutch user, the passive learner, they'll never even know.
Yeah.
They won't have the mental models, the critical framework required to even spot the error, let alone correct it.
Precisely. The partner model, conversely, it demands active intellectual engagement from you. You have to treat the AI's output not as the final answer, but as a high-quality, maybe pre-digested input that you then subject to intense scrutiny, challenge, and integration with your own knowledge. If the AI provides a simulated outcome for that business decision we talked about, the partner doesn't just say, okay, great. The partner asks, okay, AI, what were the 3 key assumptions you made about the competitor landscape when running that sim? And how would this strategy completely fall apart if those assumptions turn out to be false?
You're actively probing its reasoning, its potential weaknesses.
Yes, you're using it to make your own thinking more robust.
So if we want this true cognitive augmentation, there are specific required actions from us, the users. We can't just hit enter and lean back in the chair.
Definitely not.
We have to actually master the art of asking deeper, more probing questions.
Exactly right. And that is the difference between just passively reading AI output and actively leveraging it for genuine insight. The first requirement is moving beyond simple factual recall. A low leverage question is, What are the 3 most common causes of market failure? That's just asking for a list.
Okay, simple retrieval. So what's a high-leverage, deeper question look like in contrast?
A high-leverage question would be something more like, compare the historical mechanisms of market failure evident in the 1990s dot-com bubble against the primary mechanisms present in the 2008 housing crisis. Then, synthesize from that comparison a single, potentially novel mechanism of failure that neither of those historical events fully captured, but which might be particularly relevant to the current cryptocurrency market.
Wow, okay, that's forcing the AI to engage in some serious comparative analysis, synthesis, and even extrapolation.
Exactly. And in doing so, it forces your brain to evaluate a highly complex synthesized output. You have to judge the quality of its reasoning, its synthesis.
Okay, so deeper questions is requirement 1. The second requirement you mentioned seems to be actively exploring what-if scenarios.
Yes. This is where we really leverage that simulation power we discussed, but with deliberate intent.
So I shouldn't just ask the AI, is this business plan any good?
No, that's too passive. Instead, you should be asking things like, okay, assuming this plan, if our key raw material supplier experienced a sudden 40% cost increase due to geopolitical issues, what would be the single most effective contingency strategy we could deploy? And critically, what is the maximum acceptable cost of implementing that contingency before the entire project becomes financially non-viable?
You're intentionally injecting stress points into your own plan, using the AI almost like a dedicated, tireless risk consultant.
That's a perfect analogy, a tireless risk consultant. This kind of active stress testing immediately dramatically elevates the quality and resilience of your strategic thinking.
Okay. And the third requirement you flagged. This one feels like it hits right at the heart of critical engagement. It's about challenging your own assumptions against the AI's data or its simulation results.
Yes. This is where the rubber meets the road for intellectual honesty and growth. If the AI analysis directly contradicts a deeply held belief, you have maybe an intuition based on years of your own experience.
Yeah.
Your first reaction shouldn't be to dismiss the AI, oh, it doesn't understand the nuances. Instead, you should treat that very contradiction as potentially the most valuable piece of input you've received all day.
Why is the contradiction so valuable?
Because that contradiction is the gateway to genuine learning and refinement. By demanding the AI explain its reasoning step by step, by asking it, show me the data that led you to contradict my intuition, you are forced to articulate and rigorously defend your original position using evidence, not just feeling.
Ah, I see. It forces you to make your implicit assumptions explicit.
Exactly. This strengthens your own reasoning muscles, whether you end up agreeing with the AI or refining your own view. It leads to a much higher fidelity understanding of the entire situation, and this active, challenging process. It fundamentally changes how we need to think about defining human intelligence in the 21st century.
Okay, let's really nail that definition then. Because the sources seem definitive on this. Intelligence is not just about memorizing facts anymore.
No, the sources are unanimous on that. Fact memorization, rapid data retrieval, these are becoming commodity services. They're handled efficiently, instantly by AI.
So where does human value lie?
The human brain's enduring, critical value, what we should now consider intelligence, lies squarely in reasoning, in strategy formulation, in critical judgment, and in adaptability. We are being liberated from the cognitive load of data management to become pure strategists, critical thinkers, and adaptive decision makers.
Which means the implication for this AI partnership is crystal clear. The AI handles the information logistics, the data processing, the initial simulation results. Our user, the human, handles the overarching strategy, the final judgment call, the ethical considerations, and, importantly, the necessary emotional intelligence and adaptability to implement complex decisions effectively in the messy real world.
Perfectly put. That's the division of labor in this augmented future.
Okay, let's bring this down from the philosophical principles, important as they are, to the intensely practical. Let's talk about the day-to-day blueprint for you, the listener, the learner. The source material gave a really insightful, powerful example of how this partnership model can accelerate professional and strategic planning.
Yes, it did. Let's unpack that. Consider the traditional process for strategic planning, right? Say you're planning to launch a new product line or enter a new market vertical. Typically, that involves months of painstaking market research, endless meetings, consulting various departments, slow feedback loops, maybe some expensive external consultants.
Yeah, sounds familiar. Slow and often siloed.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, imagine doing that with AI augmentation. The user inputs their core strategic idea and, crucially, their most critical underlying assumptions. Things like, we assume the total addressable market size is X million dollars, or we assume our main competitors, A and B, will maintain their current pricing models for the next 12 months.
Okay, so you lay out the plan and the beliefs underpinning it. How does the AI then transform this from, let's be honest, often educated guesswork into genuinely data-informed strategy?
It performs deep, multi-layered predictive simulation. So first, it might simulate the likely market conditions. It can pull in relevant historical data points, maybe current geopolitical instability indices, consumer sentiment reports, and model how these external factors might realistically shift over the next 18 months, affecting your potential market.
Okay, so it contextualizes the plan in the external environment.
Precisely. Second, it simulates plausible competitor responses. It can analyze the known financial health, past behaviors, and operational capabilities of competitor A and competitor B, and model their most probable and perhaps their most aggressive reactions to your proposed launch. How likely are they to start a price war, launch a competing product faster?
That's huge. Trying to predict competitor moves is always a massive blind spot.
It is. And third, crucially, it simulates the potential financial outcomes of your strategy under these different market and competitor scenarios. But it provides probabilistic ranges, best case, worst case, most likely case, rather than misleadingly precise fixed forecasts.
Which means, as the user, I get immediate stress-tested feedback on my plan's viability before I commit serious resources.
Absolutely. The output helps you refine your decisions based on this high-fidelity simulation. It helps identify hidden weaknesses in your plan, unearth risks you hadn't considered, and even test the potential effectiveness of various contingency plans you might devise. It allows the human strategist to rapidly iterate on their plan, maybe dozens of times in a single week, instead of maybe just twice a year in the old model.
But hold on, doesn't this involve a massive amount of input preparation?
Yeah.
Feeding the AI all these assumptions and data points, doesn't this process just create its own new administrative bottleneck?
That's a fair question. Initially, yes, the quality of the input matters greatly. Garbage in, garbage out still applies. But this is actually part of the beauty of the augmentation model. The AI can often help you structure your input effectively. If you start broadly, like, I'm planning a new product launch, a good AI partner can proactively ask you clarifying questions. Okay, to simulate this effectively, what are the 5 key success metrics I should track? Please define your variables for potential market volatility, estimated regulatory risk, and assumed consumer price sensitivity.
So the AI itself forces me to structure my thinking process more rigorously upfront.
Exactly. It guides you towards providing the necessary inputs, which actually saves time and improves the quality of your thinking later in the process. It co-creates the structure with you.
Okay, that level of integration, that strategic partnership, it isn't just for massive multi-million-dollar business decisions, though, right?
Right.
We need to talk about how to integrate these tools, these approaches, into the listener's daily cognitive routines for consistent, ongoing boosts.
Absolutely. We have to make this actionable day to day. And the sources we looked at detail several specific practical daily applications for integrating AI as a cognitive partner.
Okay, let's run through some. How about brainstorming sessions? Often we get stuck in familiar ruts, thinking along the same old paths. How does an AI-augmented brainstorming process shake things up?
Instead of just asking the AI for a list of ideas about X, you prompt it much more creatively. You ask it to generate, say, 10 vastly different angles on your problem by explicitly leveraging disparate fields of knowledge. For example, propose 10 potential solutions to reduce employee burnout on my team, but specifically using principles derived from 1. Classical military strategy, 2. Insights from evolutionary biology about cooperation, and 3. Maybe scheduling techniques used in 19th century theater production.
Okay, that's deliberately weird.
It is, and that's the point. It forces you, the human thinker, to look at your everyday problem through completely novel, unexpected lenses. It's designed to trigger unusual creative connections in your brain.
I love that. Okay, what about study sessions? We talked about personalized quizzes, but beyond that, how can AI accelerate deep understanding of complex topics?
By generating rich context and tailored practice, especially for abstract or really challenging subjects, let's say you're trying to learn the complex principles of patent law.
Okay.
The AI doesn't just give you a dry definition of prior art. Instead, you ask it to create 5 distinct, realistic legal case scenarios that specifically test my ability to identify potential prior art. Then, explain the subtle but critical difference between the outcomes in the first two scenarios using an analogy based on a famous historical invention.
So it's creating mini case studies on the fly,
Mhm.
forcing application, not just recall, and using analogy to aid understanding.
Exactly. This kind of deep, contextualized practice tailored to your weak points is what rapidly builds robust, long-term retention and true understanding. It bridges the gap between abstract concept and practical application.
Makes sense.
Oh.
Okay, one more creative problem solving in general. Day-to-day work throws up unexpected roadblocks all the time.
Yep.
If you face a logistical snag or a conceptual bottleneck in some project, maybe something not obviously suited to AI, how can you leverage it?
Again, you leverage the AI's ability to access and synthesize information from those vast, disparate knowledge silos. Let's say your project management plan keeps failing because of poor internal communication between teams.
Common problem.
Very common. Instead of just asking for generic communication tips, you could ask the AI. Analyze communication protocols used in high-stakes, information-critical environments like deep-sea submarine crews or air traffic control towers. Adapt one key principle from those protocols into a practical suggestion for improving asynchronous communication within our software development team.
That's fascinating. So the real value isn't necessarily the specific solution the AI spits out.
Often not. No.
It's the novel input, the unexpected analogy or framework it provides that sparks the critical human insight. It gives you a different way to see your problem.
Precisely. You've got it. By consistently using AI in these ways to handle the data logistics, the first-pass analysis, the structured brainstorming, the tailored practice, the simulation, the cross-domain inspiration across all these domains, you are systematically removing mental bottlenecks.
Right.
You gain the capacity, the bandwidth, to focus almost exclusively on that higher-level thinking. The synthesis, the critical judgment, the creative leap, the innovation.
So, okay, let's synthesize this ourselves. What does this all mean at the end of the day? The ultimate advantage, the payoff for adopting this AI augmentation approach consistently. It seems clear. You innovate faster, period.
Yeah.
Because you're spending far less time bogged down in the initial research, the data sifting, and much more time actually building, refining, testing, and creating.
Yes, and you make smarter decisions more consistently because those decisions have been rigorously stress-tested, challenged, and informed by powerful simulations and diverse perspectives, all facilitated by your AI partner before you have to commit in the real world.
The augmented human mind. It's optimized not for data storage anymore, but for strategic deployment, critical thinking, and rapid adaptability.
That's the emerging blueprint. A blueprint for becoming a highly accelerated learner and a much more effective innovator in basically any field you choose. #tag outro. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I think we have to come back to that core synthesis, that key takeaway. AI is not about replacement. Not at all. It's a tool, a powerful one, that fundamentally elevates our core human strengths. Our ability to reason, to strategize, to adapt, to create. We are now equipped, potentially, to be dramatically accelerated learners and innovators, not because the AI gives us the easy answers, but precisely because it provides the structure, the high-quality cognitive input, and the critical challenge necessary to push and maximize our own intellectual processes. It makes us better thinkers.
Right. So if we truly accept this premise, this idea of consistent cognitive augmentation, if we commit to using AI to deliberately focus our energy purely on high-level thinking, on strategy, on creativity, we really have to consider the long-term impact on our personal growth trajectory.
It's potentially transformative.
Think about it. If your strategic capacity, your learning rate, your ability to synthesize complex information increases by, let's be conservative, even 20% year over year because you're offloading the cognitive grunt work. What is the actual ceiling for your capacity for consistent innovation and improved decision-making over the next, say, 5 years?
The compounding effect could be enormous.
Exactly. How quickly can you genuinely move from being just a curious beginner in a complex new field to being seen as a recognized expert? When the burden of initial data acquisition is largely removed and replaced with perfectly tailored practice and relentless strategic simulation.
It shrinks the timeline dramatically.
The potential for sustained, maybe even exponential personal and professional growth. It seems like it's entirely in your hands now, simply by changing the way you choose to interact with these increasingly powerful AI partners. It's a choice about how you want to think.